The great chamber was built for thousands, but today it felt too small. Ambassadors stood near the back wall, watching the chaos unfold above her. Representatives from 40 different worlds shouted at each other. Some had tentacles that waved in anger, others had wings that flapped with fear, a few glowed bright colors that had learned meant panic. She had seen the Galactic Council argue before, but never like this. 3 more colonies. A commander slammed his 6 arms on the podium. His blue skin had turned almost white. 3 colonies in 2 days gone. Every ship, every station, every living soul. The chamber erupted again, touched the small device in her ear that translated all the alien languages into Korean. The translations came fast and overlapping. The defensive grid did nothing. Our weapons don't work on them. They eat everything, ships, stations, even asteroids. Silent, the council speaker, an ancient being that looked like floating crystals, pulsed with red light. The chamber quieted. We must remain calm. Panic serves no purpose. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. Felt her stomach turn. The image showed a ship unlike anything she had seen before. It was massive, bigger than Earth's moon. The hull seemed to be made of metal and flesh mixed together. Parts of it pulsed like a heartbeat, other parts had teeth. This is what we face, the speaker continued. The Ravagers, they appeared from dark space 4 weeks ago. We have lost contact with 73 worlds. Every fleet we send disappears. They adapt to our weapons in minutes. Energy shields mean nothing to them. Plasma cannons only make them stronger. Watch the hologram shift. It showed a battle. Beautiful ships from the Empire fired bright beams of light at the Ravagers. For a moment the enemy ships seemed to slow down, then they changed. Their skin shifted and absorbed the energy. They grew bigger, stronger. The ships exploded one by one. How many? Someone asked. How many of these things are there? Sensors show at least 1,000. The speaker said each one can destroy a solar system. They move in swarms. They consume everything for resources. Then they move to the next target. The chamber fell silent. Had never heard so many beings so quiet. Officer stood up. His name was and knew him. He had always looked down on humans. He thought Earth was primitive and dirty. What about the forbidden weapons? He asked. The reality breakers, the quantum bombs. We tried, the speaker said softly. The Combine used their Omega class destroyer. It had weapons that could crack a planet in half. The Ravagers absorbed it. They learned from it. Now some of them have the same weapons. Fear rippled through the chamber like a wave. Captain stood beside. He was the commander of Earth's small delegation ship. His face showed no emotion, but knew him well enough to see the concern in his eyes. This is bad, he whispered to her in Korean. Really bad. Every advanced civilization is falling. The speaker continued. The more powerful our technology, the faster the Ravagers find us, the faster they destroy us. We need a new approach. Something they haven't seen before. Laughed. It was a bitter sound. What's left? We've used everything. Plasma, fusion, antimatter, gravity wells. What else is there? The speaker's crystals turned toward the human delegation. Toward, perhaps, the ancient being said. Slowly, we need to ask those who fight differently. The entire chamber turned to look at the humans. Thousands of eyes, sensors, and other things couldn't name, all focused on her small group. face twisted with disgust. You can't be serious. Humans, they're barbarians from a violent rock. They still use chemical propulsion. They fight with metal bullets. Exactly, said Doctor, the standing next to. She stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. We're primitives. We haven't advanced enough to catch the Ravagers' attention as a primary target. You're also survivors, the speaker added. Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. Gravity that would crush most species. Whether that changes by the hour. Predators everywhere, diseases natural disasters, yet humans thrived. You evolved to fight, to adapt, to survive against impossible odds. Felt the weight of every gaze in the chamber. She had represented Earth for 5 years. In that time she had been ignored, mocked, and dismissed. Other species saw humans as lucky primitives who barely qualified for council membership. Earth had been given the smallest voice, the least respect. Now they wanted help. Ambassador, the speaker said formally, the Galactic Council requests Earth's assistance in this crisis. We need your military forces. We need your ships. We need your soldiers. Stood up again, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Yes, please send your little chemical rockets. I'm sure metal bullets will save the galaxy. Captain's hand moved to his sidearm, touched his arm gently, stopping him. She stepped forward to the speaking platform. Let me understand this correctly, she said, her voice carrying through the chamber. For 5 years, you've told us our weapons are crude, our ships are outdated, our methods are barbaric. You've restricted our territory, limited our expansion, treated us like children who barely deserve a seat at this table. Silence, and now you want our help. The speaker's crystals dimmed. Yes, we made mistakes in how we treated your people. We thought we were better, smarter, more advanced. We were wrong. The Ravagers prove that advancement isn't everything. Sometimes survival requires different tools. Looked at, he nodded slightly. She turned back to the council. I need to contact Earth Defense Command, she said. This decision is above my authority, but I will deliver your request. I will tell them the galaxy needs help, whether they choose to give it. She paused, letting the silence stretch. That will be up to them. How long? The speaker asked. 2 days, maybe 3. We may not have 3 days, shouted. Then hope the Ravagers are slow, replied coldly. She gathered her delegation and walked toward the exit. As they left the chamber, heard the argument start again behind her. Fear and desperation filled the air. She knew what Earth's answer would be. Humans always helped when called. It was their nature, but things would be different now. The galaxy would see what could really do. Captain walked beside her. Think they're ready to see our real ships? He asked quietly, smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. No, but they'll learn. Behind them, the council descended into chaos once more, unaware that they had just awakened something far more dangerous than the Ravagers. They had awakened humanity's war machine. The far side of Earth's moon looked empty, just gray dust and old craters that had sat untouched for billions of years. Any ship passing by would see nothing unusual. The Galactic Council sensors had scanned this area dozens of times and found only rock. They never looked deep enough. Captain's shuttle dropped toward what looked like a crater, but as they got closer, the rock shimmered and disappeared. It was a hologram. Beneath it, massive doors opened in the lunar surface. The shuttle descended into darkness. then into light the hidden base stretched for. Kill him underground, had seen it before. But it still amazed him. Hundreds of ships sat in enormous hangars carved from solid rock, not the small exploration vessels Earth showed to the galaxy. These were warships, real warships. Home sweet home, Doctor said beside him. She looked tired. The trip from the council chambers had taken 2 days at maximum speed. Ambassador stared out the window, her eyes wide. I never knew this existed. That's the point, replied. You're a diplomat, we keep you clean. If you don't know about Iga's base, you can't accidentally reveal it. The shuttle landed on a platform deep in the complex. Armed guards in black armor waited for them. They saluted as stepped out. Captain, one guard said, Admiral Wu is waiting in the command center. He wants to see you immediately. They walked through corridors that hummed with activity. Soldiers hurried past carrying equipment. Engineers worked on weapon systems couldn't name. Everything here was classified at the highest level, even among Earth's military. Only a few thousand people knew Igas existed. The command center was a massive room filled with holographic displays. Star maps covered the walls. Ship diagrams floated in the air, and at the center of it all stood Admiral Wu. He was an old man over 70 years with gray hair and scars on his hands from the old wars he had fought in Earth's final conflicts before unification. He had commanded the first human ships to leave the solar system, and for the past 20 years he had built Earth's secret defense fleet. Captain Wu said without turning around. He was studying a hologram of a Ravager ship. Tell me everything. Spent the next hour describing what he had seen at the council, the fear, the desperation, the failing defenses of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Wu listened without interrupting. When finished, the Admiral was quiet for a long moment. So they finally need us, Wu said softly. Sir, the situation is severe. The Ravagers are. I know what they are. Wu waved his hand and new holograms appeared. They showed Ravager from dozens of angles. We've been tracking them since they first appeared. Our deep space monitoring stations detected them 4 weeks ago. We've been studying them ever since. Stepped forward. You knew and you didn't warn the council. Wu finally turned to look at her. His eyes were cold. Why would we? For 5 years they've treated us like insects, limited our expansion, mocked our technology, called us savages. Now their precious energy weapons don't work and they come begging. People are dying, said firmly. Billions of them. People have always been dying. They didn't care when the Rim colonies were attacked by pirates. They didn't help when the outer sectors faced famine. The council votes on which species deserve protection and which don't. They never voted to protect us. The room fell silent. Understood the Admiral's anger. Every human officer did, but anger wouldn't stop the Ravagers. Sir said carefully, what are your orders? Wu studied him for a moment. Then he sighed. We and LT Unk and GTLL help, not because they deserve it, but because if the galaxy falls, we fall with it. Commander Ara, a woman stepped out of the shadows. Commander Ara Shin was younger than maybe 35, with sharp eyes and hands that never stopped moving. She was the best ship captain in the human fleet. Sir, she said, prepare the Typhoon fleet full combat. I want every ship ready to deploy in 24 hours. Ara smiled. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for this moment. Finally, which ships, sir? All of them. The command center seemed to freeze. Felt his heart skip. All of them. Typhoon Fleet had 47 warships. Each one was bigger and deadlier than anything Earth had shown the galaxy. Admiral Doctor said slowly, if we deploy the Typhoon Fleet, the Council will see what we've been building. They'll know we've been hiding our real military strength. Good, Wu replied, let them see, let them understand that we're not primitives. We're survivors, and survivors prepare for the worst. He pulled up new holograms. Ship designs filled the air. Recognized them all. The Eternal Storm, Ara's flagship, the Winter's Fury, the Silent Thunder, each one built not for exploration but for war. These ships don't use energy shields, Wu explained, pointing at the designs. The Ravagers adapt to energy, so we don't use energy defenses. We use armor, 30 m of composite steel, titanium and carbon. Weave, old-fashioned but effective. And the weapons? Asked Chief Engineer. Minu stepped forward. He was a short man, with thick glasses and oil stains on his uniform. Rail guns, he said proudly. Magnetic acceleration cannons that fire solid metal slugs at a fraction of light speed. No energy signatures, just kinetic impact. We also have missile tubes loaded with nuclear warheads, conventional explosives and chemical weapons. Chemical weapons looked shocked. Those are banned by the Council. The Council can go to hell, Mew replied cheerfully. When you're fighting for survival, you use every tool available. We also have acid sprayers, EMP bombs and good old-fashioned explosives. If the Ravagers want to eat our ships, they'll get indigestion. Wu pulled up another display. This one showed soldiers in heavy armor. We also have the Marines, 20,000 troops trained in zero-gravity combat, ship boarding and close quarters fighting. If we can't destroy the Ravagers from outside, we'll go inside and rip them apart by hand. Felt a chill run down his spine. He had always known Earth was preparing for war, but seeing it all laid out like this, seeing the scale of it, was overwhelming. There's one more thing, Doctor said. She pulled up her own research. I've been studying the Ravager data. They're attracted to energy signatures. High-tech civilizations burn bright in space, advanced shields, powerful reactors, quantum communications, all of it sends signals the Ravagers can detect from light years away. In our ships, Aura asked, run cold chemical reactors instead of fusion, passive sensors instead of active scans, metal hulls instead of energy fields. To the Ravagers will look like debris, not worth noticing until we start shooting, Minu added. With a grin, Wu nodded. Exactly. We'll use the galaxy's prejudice against us. They think we're primitive. Let the Ravagers think so too. Then we hit them with everything we have. He turned to Ambassador. You'll return to the Council. Tell them help is coming, but you will not tell them details. Let them see for themselves. Admiral, they'll want to know. I don't care what they want. For 5 years they kept us in the dark. Now it's their turn. Wu's voice was firm. This is a military operation. We do it our way. Looked like she wanted to argue, but she nodded. Understood, sir. Captain, you'll coordinate with the Council forces, find out where the Ravagers are hitting hardest. That's where we'll strike first. Yes, sir. Commander Ara, I want the Eternal Storm ready in 18 hours. You'll Lead the first wave, Ara saluted it. Will be an honor, sir, Wu looked at them all. This is what we've been preparing for, not a war with other humans, not a fight over resources. This is a battle for survival, Earth's survival, humanity's survival, the galaxy's survival. We didn't ask for this fight, but we'll finish it. The command center erupted with activity. Officers ran to their stations. Engineers rushed to the hangars. The entire base came alive with purpose. Watched it all and felt something he hadn't felt in years, hope. The galaxy thought humans were weak. They thought Earth's weapons were outdated. They thought wrong. The Ravagers were about to learn what could really do, and the lesson would be written in fire and metal. The eternal storm drifted through space like a piece of dead metal. Its engines were cold, its hull was dark, no lights, no energy signatures. To anyone watching, it looked like wreckage from an old battle. Commander Ara sat in the captain's chair on the bridge, watching her screens with intense focus. Around her, the crew worked in near silence. They had trained for this moment for years. Now it was real. Distance to target, Ara asked quietly. Lieutenant checked her console. 600 km in closing. The Ravagers still haven't noticed us. Good, keep us cold. No active sensors. On the main screen, Ara could see the battle happening in Sector 447. 3 cruisers were trying to escape from 4 Ravager. The ships were beautiful, all smooth curves and glowing energy shields. They fired bright plasma beams that lit up space like fireworks. The Ravagers absorbed every shot. Their hulls shifted and changed, adapting to the energy weapons. Then they fired back with weapons they had stolen, and the first cruiser exploded in a ball of blue fire. Predictable, Ara muttered. They're doing exactly what doesn't work. Doctor stood beside her, studying the Ravagers through the passive sensors. Fascinating. Look at how quickly they adapt. Each hit makes them stronger. It's like they're learning in real time. Can we kill them? Ara asked bluntly. If we do it right, their adaptation is based on energy absorption. They've never faced purely kinetic weapons, at least not at this scale. Erin nodded. She touched her communication panel. All ships, this is Eternal Storm. Begin approach. Silent protocols. Hold fire until my command. Around her ship, the rest of the Typhoon fleet emerged from the darkness. 47 warships, all running cold, all moving slowly. They looked nothing like the sleek vessels of the Galactic Council. These were brutal, angular things built for one purpose: destruction. The second cruiser died. The remaining ship was trying to run, its engines burning bright as it fled. The Ravagers chased it like predators hunting prey. 400 km reported. Ara watched the distances shrink. 300 km, 200. The Ravagers were focused on the fleeing ship. They didn't even look at the human fleet drifting closer. 100 km. We're in optimal firing range. Hold, Ara said calmly. She wanted to be close, really close. 50 km. The weapons officer looked nervous. Ma'am, if they notice us, they won't. We're beneath their notice, just metal floating in space. Ara leaned forward. 30 km. All ships prepare firing. Solution, target the lead. I want everything on that one target. Bridge crew moved with precision. Fingers danced over controls, targeting. Computers locked onto the largest Ravager ship. It was massive, easily 10 times bigger than the Eternal Storm. 20 km. Fire, the eternal storm shuddered as its main rail gun fired. There was no bright beam, no flashy energy blast, just solid tungsten slug the size of a car, accelerated to thousands of meters per second by magnetic force. The projectile hit the Ravager dead center. The impact was devastating. Metal and organic tissue exploded outward. A hole the size of a building appeared in the creature's hull before it could react. 46 more rail guns fired. The other human ships unleashed their kinetic weapons. Solid metal slugs slammed into the Ravager. From every angle, each hit tore through its adaptive shielding like it wasn't even there. The screamed Aura could hear it through the hull of her ship. Horrible organic sound that made her teeth hurt. Missile tubes fire, she commanded. Hundreds of missiles launched from the Typhoon fleet. These weren't energy weapons, they were chemical explosives, nuclear warheads, acid payloads. Every missile was designed to deliver physical damage. The Ravager tried to adapt. Its hull shifted and changed, growing thicker armor, creating new shields, but it was adapting to energy weapons. It didn't know how to handle simple explosives. The missiles struck. The surface erupted in fire and acid. Chunks of tissue broke away and tumbled into space. Target is wounded but still functional, reported. The other Ravagers are turning toward us. About time they noticed. Aura smiled coldly. All ships evasive maneuvers. Don't let them target you and keep firing. The Eternal Storm's engines roared to life. The ship twisted and rolled, dodging the Ravagers. Returned fire. The other human ships did the same, moving like they were alive, like they were predators themselves. The Ravagers fired energy beams from a dozen different species, but the human ships didn't have energy shields to overload. They had armor thick, heavy, old-fashioned metal armor. A beam hit the Eternal Storm side. The outer plating melted and burned, but the inner layers held. Damage alerts flashed on Aura's screen, but the ship kept fighting. Hull breach on Deck 7. Someone reported, seal it, keep firing. The rail guns fired again and again. Each shot punched through the Ravagers' hulls. The creatures were trying to adapt, growing thicker skin, creating barriers, but kinetic force didn't care about adaptation. A piece of metal moving at relativistic speeds would destroy anything it hit. The wounded is breaking apart, shouted on the screen. The first Ravager was dying. Its hull had too many holes. Its organic systems were failing. The massive creature spasmed once, then went still. It began to drift lifeless. One down, Aura said. 3 to go. Focus fire on target 2. But now the Ravagers understood the threat. They turned away from the fleeing ship and focused entirely on the human fleet. Energy beams crisscrossed space. 2 human ships took heavy damage. The Winter's Fury lost its forward rail gun. There. Learning, Doctor warned. Look there. Targeting our weapons instead of our shields, because we don't have shields to target. Realized, clever. All ships protect your guns. Rotate damaged sections away from fire. A massive Ravager charged directly at the Eternal Storm. Its front section opened like a mouth, revealing rows of metal teeth. It's trying to eat us. The weapons officer yelled. Let it try, Sergeant. You ready? Through the communication system, a gruff voice replied. Always. Commander. Sergeant Lee commanded the Marine boarding teams. 200 soldiers in heavy armor carrying weapons the galaxy had never seen. Not energy rifles, not Plasma guns, old-fashioned chemical. Propellant weapons, shotguns, assault. Rifles, grenades. When that thing gets close enough, you blow a hole and board it, Ara ordered. With pleasure, ma'am. The Ravagers' mouth grew closer at the last second. Ara fired the engines. The eternal storm lurched to the side, barely avoiding the teeth, but a smaller human ship, the Silent Thunder, deliberately flew into the creature's mouth. Silent Thunder. What are you doing? Ara demanded. Ship's captain replied calmly, giving the sergeant a ride, ma'am. The Silent Thunder disappeared into the Ravagers' gullet. For a moment, nothing happened. Then explosions erupted from inside. The Silent Thunder had detonated its entire arsenal inside the creature's body. The Ravager convulsed, its mouth section tore apart, and through the flames came armored figures, the Marines. Sergeant led his team through the breach, using magnetic boots to walk on the Ravager's interior hall. His squad carried cutting torches, explosives, and bullets. We're inside, he reported. This thing is disgusting. It's half machine, half biology. I can see circuits growing out of meat. Find its brain, doctor instructed, or whatever passes for a central nervous system. Destroy it and the whole ship should shut down. The Marines moved deeper into the Ravager. Ara watched through their helmet cameras. The interior was nightmare fuel. Pooling organic tissue mixed with metal cables, the wall's breath, the floor moved. Contact, shouted. Smaller Ravager creatures appeared, defending their ship. They looked like insects made of metal and flesh. The Marines opened fire. Bullets tore through the creatures. Grenades exploded in the narrow corridors. It was brutal close quarters combat. No elegance, no finesse, just violence and determination. Found something, a Marine called. Big chamber ahead, lots of nerve tissue. That's it, confirmed. Destroy it, team. Planted charges throughout the chamber. Everybody out, he ordered. The Marines ran. Behind them, the charges detonated. The Ravager shuddered. Its movements became erratic, then it went still. Second target destroyed, reported. Boarding team successful. Ara allowed herself a small smile. 2 down, 2 to go. The remaining Ravagers were fleeing now. They had learned humans were dangerous, but the Typhoon fleet pursued. Rail guns fired missiles launched. The humans were relentless. One Ravager tried to adapt, growing thick armor over its hull. A human ship responded by ramming it, driving a reinforced prow straight through the armor. Both ships exploded, but the Ravager died. The last tried to run. It was fast, but human ships were faster. They surrounded it, firing from all sides. It took an hour, but eventually it too fell silent. The battle was over. Ara stood in her damaged bridge and looked at the aftermath. 4 Ravager destroyed, 7 human ships lost, hundreds of casualties. But they had won. The fleeing ship had stopped running. It was sending signals. Ara opened the channel. Human ships. Voice said, filled with shock. How did you do that? Our best weapons failed. Yours succeeded. Ara looked at the camera. We fight differently. Remember that. She closed the channel and turned to her crew. Well done. But this was just the beginning. Let's go home and repair. The war isn't over yet. As the eternal storm limped back toward friendly space, news of the battle spread across the galaxy. The had deployed their ships, and the Ravagers had learned to fear. The Galactic Council chamber was packed. Every species wanted to attend. They came to See the footage to hear the reports too. Understand what had happened in Sector 447. Ambassador stood at the podium trying to maintain her composure. Around her, thousands of beings stared at the holographic replay of the battle, the brutal efficiency of human weapons, the relentless assault, the boarding teams fighting inside a Ravager. Barbaric, someone whispered, but it was said with awe, not disgust. The council speaker crystals pulsed with complex colors, 4 Ravager destroyed in a single engagement. Ambassador, the council formally requests that Earth Defense Command take a leadership role in the war effort. Before could respond. Stood up, the commander looked different. Now his arrogance was gone. We also request details on your weapons technology. If your kinetic weapons can penetrate Ravager defenses, we need to you said firmly. Silence. Excuse me. Space darkened. Earth will not share its weapons technology. We will fight. We will protect the galaxy. But our military secrets remain our own. The chamber erupted in protest, demands, threats, promises of trade deals and alliances, but stood firm. Admiral Wu had been very clear in his instructions. You treated us as children, she said, her voice cutting through the noise. You restricted our expansion, mocked our methods, dismissed our concerns. Now you want everything we've built. No. Earth will help on Earth's terms. Speaker raised a crystalline appendage. Ambassador, the council understands your frustration, but this is an existential crisis. Billions of lives are at stake, yes, which is why our ships are already deploying to protect 12 different systems. We're doing our part, but we won't hand over our technology to people who spent 5 years calling us savages. Left the podium. Behind her, the council descended into arguments. She didn't care. Earth had proven its worth. Now the galaxy would respect them or learn to live without their help. Back on Earth in the Aegis Command Center, Admiral Wu watched the council feed with satisfaction. Well done, Ambassador. Let them squirm beside him. Captain worked furiously at her intelligence station. She was young for a captain, barely 30, but brilliant. Her specialty was signals intelligence and code breaking. Admiral said suddenly, I found something. Wu turned. Report. We captured data from the destroyed Ravager, encrypted biological signals. I've been trying to decode them for 3 days. She pulled up a hologram. I finally broke the encryption, sir. They're communicating. The Ravagers aren't mindless. They're coordinated. Controlled. By what? I don't know yet, but the signals all originate from one location. Expanded the star map. A point deep in the Abyss Nebula pulsed with red light. Here, every Ravager in the galaxy receives instructions from this location. It's like a hive mind. Admiral Wu studied the map. The Abyss Nebula was dangerous space, thick clouds of gas and debris that disrupted sensors and communications. No major civilization had ever fully explored it. What's at that location? According to the signals, the source, the Queen, the core, whatever is controlling all the Ravagers, it's there. Doctor entered the command center looking exhausted. She had been working non-stop since the battle, studying the Ravager remains. Admiral, I have an update on the enemy biology. Go ahead, Doctor. They're ancient. Carbon dating of the organic components shows they're millions of years old. This species has been dormant for longer than humans have existed. She pulled up cellular diagrams. They're designed to activate when certain conditions are met, specifically when they detect high levels of advanced technology in a region of space. They're triggered by civilization. Wu frowned. Exactly. Think of them as an immune response for the galaxy. When species become too advanced, too widespread, too energy intensive, the Ravagers wake up and eliminate the threat. That's insane. Maybe, or maybe it's by design. What if something created the Ravagers as a to prevent anyone's civilization from becoming too powerful? Wu felt a chill. You're saying someone made these things on purpose? I'm saying it's possible. The genetic engineering is too sophisticated to be natural evolution. Someone built the Ravagers, and that someone might still be out there. Captain interrupted. Admiral, we're receiving reports from our deployed fleets. The Ravagers are changing tactics. They're not attacking as aggressively. They're watching us, studying us. They're learning. Said we surprised them with kinetic weapons. Now they're figuring out how to counter us. Wu made a decision. How many ships do we have in reserve? 32, sir. The rest are deployed, protecting Council systems. Not enough. If we're going to end this, we need to strike at the source. He pointed at the Abyss Nebula. Captain, I want every piece of intelligence on that location. What's there? How big it is? What defenses it might have? Everything. Yes, sir. Doctor, can we develop a weapon that targets their hive mind? Something that disrupts their communication? Thought for a moment. Maybe if I can isolate the frequency they use for coordination. Yes, I could create a virus, a biological weapon that attacks their neural tissue. It would spread through their communication network and shut down the hive. How long? 2 weeks. Maybe less. You have 1 week. This war is draining our resources. The Council is pressuring us to share technology. Our ships are taking heavy casualties. We need to end this before we're bled dry. Commander Aura entered her arm sling from injuries sustained in the last battle. Admiral, the Eternal Storm is repaired and ready for deployment. What are our orders? Wu looked at her, then at all the officers gathered around him. We're going to do something crazy. We're going to abandon the outer defense lines and consolidate our forces for a single attack. Sir Aura looked shocked. If we pull back, the Ravagers will overrun dozens of systems. I know, but if we keep fighting defensive battles, we'll lose slowly. If we strike at their source and destroy it, we win immediately. It's a gamble the Council will never approve. Then we don't tell them. Captain, send word to our fleets. All ships are to withdraw to Rally Point Theta within 48 hours. We're going into the abyss. As his officers scrambled to execute the orders, Wu stared at the hologram of the nebula. Somewhere in that darkness was the enemy's heart. If they could destroy it, the war would end. If they failed, humanity would be destroyed alongside the rest of the galaxy. 2 days later, Ambassador received a priority message from Admiral Wu. She read it 3 times, her hands shaking. Then she requested an emergency council session. When the council gathered, she stood before them and delivered the message exactly as written. Earth Defense Command is withdrawing all forces from defensive positions. We are consolidating for a strike against the Ravager hive in the Abyss Nebula. This attack will commence in 72 hours. Chaos, you can't abandon the defense lines, a representative shouted. You're Condemning billions to death, another voice cried, slammed his fists on his podium. This is madness, you'll doom us all. Waited for the noise to die down. Admiral Wu sent a message for the council. Would you like to hear it? The speaker gestured for silence. Proceed. Activated the hologram. Admiral Wu's image appeared, standing in front of a fleet of warships. Members of the Galactic Council, Wu said, his voice calm but hard. For 5 years you told us how to fight, where to deploy, what weapons to use. You treated us like children who needed guidance. You were wrong then and you're wrong now. He paused, letting that sink in. We have analyzed the enemy. We understand their tactics and we know how to win, but it requires a decisive strike, not a slow defensive grind. You can either trust us to do what needs to be done or you can try to stop us, but I promise you this: if you interfere, if you try to command our forces or dictate our strategy, we will leave. Earth will protect itself and let the rest of the galaxy burn. The hologram flickered. In 72 hours we attack the hive. We will destroy the source of the Ravager threat. We will end this war, and when it's over, you will never question human military judgment again. Wu out. Image disappeared. The council chamber was silent. The speaker's crystals pulsed with uncertain colors. Ambassador, is Admiral Wu serious? Would Earth truly abandon the galaxy? Met the ancient being's gaze. Admiral Wu never bluffs. He says we'll leave. He means it. He says we'll win. He means that too, but billions will die if you withdraw. Billions will die anyway if this war continues. The Admiral is betting everything on one strike. Either we win completely or we lose completely. There's no middle ground. Stood up slowly. For once he looked uncertain. What do you need from us? Nothing. Replied. Just stay out of our way and pray we succeed. The council voted. It was unanimous. Earth had permission to proceed. In the EGA's command center, Admiral Wu smiled grimly. The Typhoon fleet was assembling. Doctor's weapon was almost complete. Captain had mapped the nebula. Everything was ready. In 3 days, humanity would either save the galaxy or die trying. There was no other option. Not for the Abyss Nebula looked like a wall of darkness. Thick clouds of gas and cosmic dust blocked all light. Sensors couldn't penetrate more than a few kilometers. Communications were scrambled. It was the perfect place to hide something you didn't want found. Commander Ara stood on the bridge of the eternal storm, watching the nebula fill her. Behind her ship, 79 others followed in formation. The entire human fleet, every ship Earth could spare, all committed to this single attack. All ships reporting ready. Lieutenant said, we can enter on your command. Ara looked at Admiral Wu's face on her communication screen. The old man was aboard his flagship, the Resolute, leading from the front like he always did. Admiral Ara said, any last words before we go in? Wu smiled. It was a tired smile. Don't die, that's an order. I'll do my best, sir. All ships. Wu's voice broadcast across the fleet. We go in dark and quiet. No active sensors, no communications unless absolutely necessary. We find the hive, we deploy the weapon, and we get out. Simple. Nothing's ever simple, someone muttered. On Ara's bridge. Shut up, she replied. Without heat. Admiral, we're ready. Then, let's finish this war. All ships advance. The human fleet entered the abyss. Inside the nebula it was like Being blind, that showed nothing but swirling gray clouds, passive sensors, picked up occasional debris, destroyed ships from ancient battles, asteroid fragments, things that might have been stations once. This place is a graveyard, Doctor whispered. She was aboard the Eternal Storm, monitoring the biological weapon they carried, a specialized warhead filled with a virus she had engineered to attack Ravager. Neural tissue, how far to the target? Aura asked. Unknown. The nebula is interfering with our navigation. We're essentially flying blind. Great, keep heading deeper. The Ravager signals have to be coming from somewhere. They flew for an hour in tense silence, then 2 hours. The fleet stayed in tight formation, each ship following the one ahead by instruments. Alone. Contact, suddenly shouted. Multiple signals ahead, energy readings off the scale. Through the clouds something enormous appeared. It was bigger than a planet. The Ravager hive was so massive it had its own gravity. The surface was covered in organic growths that pulsed with bioluminescent light. Thousands of smaller Ravager ships orbited around it like insects around a nest. Sweet mother of someone breath. All ships battle stations. Admiral Wu commanded. His voice was steady. Don't let the size intimidate you. It's still just a target. Hit it hard and fast. The human fleet spread out, weapons charging, rail guns extended, missile tubes opened. Every ship prepared to fire. Then the hive spoke. It wasn't words exactly, more like a feeling transmitted directly into their minds. Every human in the fleet heard it. You do not belong. Aura grabbed her head as the sensation washed over her. It felt ancient, vast, overwhelming. What is that? Doctor was frantically checking her instruments. It's telepathic communication. The hive mind is reaching out to us. Can you hear? The voice continued. You are not like the others. You use primitive methods, crude weapons. Why? Admiral Wu's voice cut through the confusion. Don't respond. It's trying to confuse us. All ships fire. The human fleet unleashed everything. Railgun slugs tore through the orbiting Ravager ships. Missiles streaked toward the nuclear warheads, detonated against its surface. But the hive was ready. The smaller Ravagers formed a defensive clear's throat screen, absorbing the first wave of attacks. The surface shifted and hardened. It's adapting. Warned. Keep firing, Sergeant. Get your teams ready to board. Through the chaos the voice continued. You fight to survive. We understand survival, but you do not understand your purpose. Ignore it, Wu ordered. But curiosity nodded. Aura, what did it mean? Sergeants. Marines launched in assault pods, rocketing toward the crash through the outer defenses, and began cutting their way inside. Aura watched through their helmet cameras. The interior of the hive was different from the smaller. It was older, more complex. The walls were covered in symbols and patterns that hurt to look at. We're inside, reported. This place is wrong. The geometry doesn't make sense. Just find the central node and plant the weapon. Aura ordered. The Marines pushed deeper. They fought through defending Ravager organisms, blasted through biological barriers, and descended into the heart of the. Finally, they reached a massive chamber. At its center floated something that looked like a giant brain made of crystal and flesh, pulsing with energy. That's it, Doctor confirmed. That's the hive mind's core. Deploy the weapon. There, armed the warhead. But before he could activate it, the telepathic voice returned, stronger than before. Wait, you must understand, we are not your enemy. Images flooded into their minds. They saw the galaxy billions of years ago, civilizations rising, growing, powerful, consuming everything. Wars that destroyed entire star systems. Technologies that threatened to tear reality apart. We were C-Ray the Hive. Explained, designed by the ancients to maintain balance. When species become too advanced, too destructive, we awaken, we reduce their numbers, we restore balance. It is our purpose. You're killing billions, Ara shouted at the screen, to save trillions. If we do not act, advanced CIVY ATIS will consume the galaxy. They will destroy themselves and everything else. We have seen it happen many times. Sergeant stood frozen, his hand on the weapon trigger. Commander, I don't know what to do. On the resolute, Admiral Wu clenched his fists. The Hive was playing mind games, trying to make them hesitate, but Doctor was studying the data flowing from the Hive mind. Admiral, it's telling the truth. At least it believes it's telling the truth. The Ravagers were engineered as a mechanism. I don't care, Wu replied coldly. Activate the weapon. Wait, Captain interrupted. If the Ravagers were created to maintain balance and we destroy them completely, what happens next? What if there is a real threat? They were designed to stop. Ara felt torn. They had come to destroy the Hive, to end the Ravager threat. But what if doing so made things worse? You call yourselves DATs. The Hive said, you survived your harsh planet by adapting, by being ruthless when necessary. We are the same. We survive by controlling threats. We're not threats, Ara said. We just want to live. You are the greatest threat. You fight differently. You adapt faster than any species we have of Enkus. Your kind could dominate the galaxy or destroy it. In the chamber, Sergeant looked at the weapon, then at the pulsing core. He opened a private channel to Commander Ara. Ma'am, I need orders. Do I deploy? Ara looked at Admiral Wu. The old man's face was hard, but she saw doubt in his eyes. Is there another option? Ara asked Doctor. The doctor frantically examined her weapon. Maybe the virus I created was designed to kill the Hive mind, but I could reprogram it, make it force the Ravagers into dormancy instead. They'd sleep instead of die. For how long? Indefinitely, unless they're triggered again by the same conditions. Advanced civilization spreading too far, so we just postpone the problem, Lieutenant. No, replied. We give the galaxy a chance, time to learn, time to grow, without becoming destructive. And if future generations fail, if they become the threat the Ravagers fear, then the Ravagers wake up and do their job. Admiral Wu was silent for a long moment, then he spoke. Sergeant, do not kill the Hive. Upload the modified virus, put them to sleep. Sir, are you sure? No, but killing them feels wrong. Where we survive, we adapt. We don't commit genocide even against our enemies. Nodded. Doctor transmitted the virus to his weapon. He activated it. The modified virus spread through the chamber, entering the Hive core. The pulsing slowed. The telepathic voice grew fainter. You choose mercy, we choose survival. Ara replied, yours and ours. Sleep now. Maybe one day the galaxy won't need you anymore. Perhaps you are different after all. Voice faded. The Hive core went dark. Throughout, the Ravager organisms stopped moving. The orbiting ships went silent. Across the galaxy, every Ravager fleet suddenly shut down. The war ended in an instant. The the human fleet retreated from. The abyss, they carried data about the Ravagers, proof of what they had found, and a warning for future generations. 3 weeks later, ambassadors stood before the Galactic Council. The chamber was different now. Humans sat in the place of honor, the other species. Listen when Earth spoke. The Ravagers are dormant, explained, not dead. They are created by an ancient civilization. They activate when they detect threats to galactic stability. Then we must destroy them while we can. Someone argued. No, said firmly, they're a warning, a reminder. If our civilizations become too destructive, too power-hungry, too willing to wage war, the Ravagers will wake up. They'll restore balance the hard way. The council speaker pulsed thoughtfully. So humanity saved us by showing mercy to our enemy. We saved everyone by choosing a better path. The Ravagers taught us something. Power without wisdom leads to destruction. We can be advanced without being destructive. We can be strong without being cruel. Commander Ara watched from the gallery. Her ship was being repaired. Her crew was receiving honors, but she felt no joy in victory. Admiral Wu sat beside her. Regrets? He asked quietly. We deployed our deadliest ships, Ara replied. We showed the galaxy what can do, but in the end, we won with mercy, not weapons. Sometimes the deadliest choice is the kind one. It takes more courage to spare an enemy than to destroy them. Aaron nodded. What happens now? Now we rebuild, we prepare, and we make sure the galaxy never needs to wake the Ravagers again. In the depths of the Abyss Nebula, the dormant hive dreamed. It remembered the species that showed mercy, the who chose compassion over conquest, and in those dreams, for the first time in billions of years, the hive felt something new, hoping far away. In Earth's Ega's base, engineers began designing new ships, not weapons of war, but vessels of exploration. Humanity had proven it could fight. Now it would prove it could build. Doctor wrote in her log. We deployed our deadliest ships when the galaxy called. We brought kinetic weapons, nuclear warheads, and the fury of it. But our deadliest weapon wasn't any of those things. It was our ability to choose mercy when vengeance would have been easier. Perhaps that's what truly makes us dangerous, not our capacity for violence, but our capacity for hope. The war was over. The galaxy had learned to respect humanity, and humanity had learned that being deadly meant nothing if you forgot how to be human.